So I'm trying to give you a little analysis of a scene from The Last Basset, Chronicle of Basset. And these are characters that are kind of not the most important characters. It's like a side story. But I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of why it's so good. And really, it gets down to the writing is very good and very witty. So we're dealing with an artist who is quite successful, and he has a funny name. What is his name? Conway Dalrymple. And it's been instigated that he is painting this young woman in some kind of mythological scene. She's biblical? It's biblical. Jael. And so they're doing it in this other person's house. And it's a married couple, Dobbs Broughton. And so Mrs. Dobbs Broughton is kind of, she's the other person in this triangle of the painted Conway Dalrymple. And then the person being painted is Clara Van Siva, a young woman or youngish woman. And Mrs. Dobbs Broughton, so we know her husband and we don't like her husband. He's an alcoholic, he's abusive, he's just not a nice character. And he's also one of these side characters. Anyway, but she has allowed Conway to do the painting in her house, which is a little bit risque. And it has to do with the fact that he likes the married woman, Mrs. Dobbs Broughton, and Mrs. Dobbs Broughton is kind of described as, she wants to have her fun. She's definitely unhappy in her marriage because she's married to this bad guy or not nice person. She's bored. And so what I like about what Trollope does with her character is she is kind of, flirting with adultery, but he kind of makes you almost feel like that's okay because what's she supposed to do with her life? She's a smart, good-looking woman who's been put into this marriage. So there's that going on. She's kind of flirting with the artist, but she also kind of wants, and I think this is part of what this bored woman likes, is that she's trying to get the artist to propose to the woman, but she's also jealous of the woman at the same time. Like, she doesn't really want it to happen, even though she wants it to happen. And I think she wants it to happen and to know that she was the instigator of it happening. But so she's very conflicted. And it's just this hilarious scene where he's trying to get ready to propose to the girl, but she's wearing her outfit for the painting, so she's wearing a turban, so she doesn't, and he can't do it. He's not used to, as they say in Trollopian language, making love to someone he's painting. And so she's sitting there with her turban, and he's trying to get ready to propose to her, and they're having this sort of witty back and forth about what it means to be an artist, and the language is just really funny. And of course, he doesn't get to it. And one of the analogies or sort of metaphors that keeps coming up is piling your faggots, which I don't know exactly what the significance of it is, but it's something to do, maybe it's also biblical. And he even calls Isaac as doing this, piling their faggots, which I think is sort of, from what I gather, like getting ready to deal with something. I don't know. I'm not doing a good job of what exactly the metaphor is. Maybe I'll come back. Like arranging something. Faggots, as far as I know, it's sort of like fascias, like the burning piles of wood, like stockpiling. I don't know. I may be completely wrong, but I think that's what it is. And it's just so on the one hand, it's a hilarious scene. There's a lot of sort of almost theatrical humor of the lady with the turban, and he's trying to propose and he can't bring himself. And then in walks the other lady who's so conflicted about it all, because on the one hand she wants the guy for herself, on the other hand she's married but unhappily. And then it ends with this sort of nice. He has this way of being borderline poignant, but it doesn't get into deep tragedy. And it has to do with the wife, kind of saying, well, at least I hope we can be friends, even if you marry this girl. And the sacrifices shall all be made by me. And she is sort of overly theatrical about it, but on the other hand, there is something to this. There is something almost Anna Karenina in there, although it's not that deep to her situation. The world is at your feet. You shall have everything. Youth, beauty, wealth, station, and friendship also, if you will accept it from one so poor, so broken, so secluded as I shall be. At each of these last words, there had been a desperate sob. And as she was still crouching in the middle of the room, looking up into Dalrymple's face while he stood over her. The scene was one which had much in it that transcended the doings of everyday life, much that would be ever memorable, and much, I have no doubt, that was thoroughly enjoyed by the principal actor. So she's kind of set it up this way to get something out of her life. That's what he's getting at here. So it is sort of manipulative, but I can't help also kind of feeling like she's not a completely, I don't hate her for doing this, which I think is really interesting with Trollope. Like, it's different from Dickens too, there's not as many shades of gray with Dickens. You have really, really good people or really, really, Dickens is just different, and his greatness is of a different type. Trollope's very good at the many different shades of why people do things, and that they do them for their own benefit, but that's what being human is, kind of. So yeah, I've blabbed for 5 minutes about this one little tiny chapter in this big book, but that's what's great. That's why we love it, right? What does Mr. T want? What does Mr. T want? He's not a lap sitter. He never sits in laps. Sometimes he'll sit next to me on the bed. I mean, he barely stays on the bed when I'm on the bed. Sometimes he does. And also, we've decided he wasn't the culprit, because it did happen again, and we think it's Shirley. But we'll have to do something about it, right? We'll have to do something about it. Yeah, we'll figure out a way to close the doors and stuff. She's going to the vet soon, so. She's had urinary issues in the past, and yeah. So, sorry, Mr. T, it was not you. Probably. I just know if I'd been there, I would have been able to figure out, or I think I would have been able to figure out who it is, but who knows. Is it Laverne or Shirley? I think they're Laverne. Laverne! I said Laverne! Yeah, she's putting her ears back. I think it's Laverne. Different shape. Yeah, and crazy eyes. Exactly. It's Laverne. There's the other one. There's the culprit. What are you doing, Shirley? What's going on? What is going on? Don't be like that. She's so dandruff. We just combed her a little bit, and then all the dandruff comes up. She's more dandruffy than her sister. Okay, enough cat talk. Where's Mr. T? Look at where they are. You guys are cute. You guys are very cute. He's like the main one who sits in the little cubby. Lily has taken to sit on top. You're very cute, Mr. T. You like it? Is that a good place for you? Is that a good place for Mr. T? So I'm just coming on here to end the discussion on the piece of Trollope that I was talking about. And of course, my lack of biblical knowledge kicked in. I mean, it's there, but it's not as present as it should be. And of course, Isaac, as my husband reminded me, it's a reference to Abram and Isaac, and Abram sacrificing his own son, the biblical story, Old Testament story that Kierkegaard wrote a book about, etc. Anyway, coming back to our funny little triangle situation. So there's a passage that I found a blog post about where this English professor whose site is called Better Living Through Beowulf. So it looks kind of interesting. He's the world of book blogs is really interesting, and let me know in the comments if which blogs you read. It's like a whole other arena of book discussions that's going on that's a little different from BookTube, but that's also, you can find great stuff. And he has a kind of how the Victorians take on Isaac. Anyway, and he drew my attention to one of the key passages in this triangle story where the wife, the one who's kind of sort of pulling the strings of this whole situation, she got the painting to happen, they're getting Clara ready for being painted. And it says here, she used to tell herself as she did so that she was like Isaac, piling the faggots for her own sacrifice. Only Isaac had piled them in ignorance, and she piled them conscious of the sacrificial flames, which of course means it's not like that at all. That's where the shallow thing comes in, is that she would have the audacity to think she's like Isaac. But and then it says only Isaac had piled them in ignorance, and she piled them. Oh yeah, and then Isaac had been saved, whereas it was impossible that the catching of any ram in any thicket could save her. But nevertheless, she arranged the drapery with her, and it does have a footnote there, which I did. Yeah, I should have. It must have escaped me, this reference to Genesis. God tests Abraham's faith by commanding him to sacrifice his son. Anyway, and then going back. But nevertheless, she arranged the drapery with all her skill, piling the faggots ever so high for her own pyre. And it sort of insinuates that he knows that this is what she's doing. That the third person, the man in the painter, knows that she's doing this. And so the blog post is sort of says she's shallow and passive aggressive, the wife, and she surely is. But I think what Trollope is good at doing is, at least maybe I'm being too sympathetic a reader, I don't know. He kind of does a good job of setting it up well. We kind of understand where this lady's coming from for all her shallowness, and he has a lot of reference to her liking Byron. And so, you know, it's steeped in what's going on in the times, and it's also steeped in, well, this is how people arrange their lives when they're not perfect, which seems very humane to me, and why I love Trollope. So let me end it here. It's going to be the main part of today's Vlogmas, probably, because I don't want these to get too long. And yeah, talk to you soon. I'm going to try and continue and get more reading done. I really want to finish the Trollope so I can go back and then finish my German one. Yes, the plight of a slow, methodical, perhaps thoughtful reader. Talk to you soon. Bye. So we're going to drop these off at Goodwill, and poor Bill is gonna do his laundry at the laundromat, since it can be more quickly done, like this. You can put it into a machine. And then I am going to have a peek at the Goodwill. Opus makes his first appearance in the Christmas Vlogmas of 2022. Hey buddy, come get your food. Here you go. He's a hungry boy. He's most people already know, he's he won't come in, and he doesn't want to be petted or anything. Lily will scare him away if I let her out, which we won't let her do. She's very fearless or stupid. Take your pick. Oh, are you not hungry? Oh, I think it's too much commotion with kitties and me. Sorry about that, guy. Maybe he's just not hungry. Bill wasn't impressed with my Goodwill find, but I think it's kind of cute. It's kind of like a dumpy reindeer. Moose, with a little baby moose. A little basket. Okay, maybe not exactly worth $2. I don't know, the Goodwill didn't have any super good deals today. But I don't know, I think he might look good in my village, even though he's oversized for the village. Like somewhere like here somewhere, I don't know. If I move this over a little tiny bit. Perfect. So here's my little houses. I think they look adorable. Here's my little chubby moose that I got from the Goodwill today. Bill doesn't like her, but I think she's adorable. And she's got a baby moose. And then this is actually a print from a local, well, he's based in Columbus, and he's an illustrator, and I just thought it was cute because it's like a witchy black kitty, and it reminds me of Laverne. So that's why I put it there.